Hello friends. Today we're going to talk about the ancestry of Jesus because we need encouragement. In his ancestry we have many questionable characters. And I know most of you probably know it, but it's good to review. It's good to go into the details to see how we can get rid of all our past and just trust in God and move on. So in the genealogy of Jesus, we go to chapter 1 of Matthew. The record of the genealogy of Jesus, the Messiah, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham was the father of Isaac, Isaac was the father of Jacob, Jacob was the father of Judah and his brothers, Judah was the father of Perez and Zerah by Tamar. By Tamar. Who was Tamar? Genesis 38. Genesis 38. The 11 brothers, or the 10 brothers, had sold Joseph to Egypt. They sold him to the Ishmaelites and the Midianites. To Egypt. And in the middle of the story of Joseph, where he resisted the advances of Potiphar's wife, we stop, Moses stops, and he talks about his brother. He talks about Judah. Judah was married, he had 3 sons, his wife died. He took a wife for his first son, that was Tamar. Was wicked. The Bible said God took his life. Okay, as the custom was, died, so let's give her to Onan, the second son. The second son was evil. He was supposed to have a son by Tamar to inherit Er's property, so that Er's name would not be forgotten. Onan was wicked and he would not get her pregnant. So now Judah is thinking, oh boy, what are we going to do with this woman? He had one more son, and Judah said to his daughter-in-law Tamar, remain a widow in your father's house until my son Shelah grows up. He's too young for you. Now she knows that he is not going to do anything about that. He is actually just sending her to her father's house so she could remain single, an old lady with no inheritance, nothing. So she goes back to her father's house, and Judah is working, and he goes to shear his sheep, and on his way she hears he's coming. And so she dresses up like a temple prostitute. And sits at the well. Judah comes, he offers her money to sleep with her, but he had no money. He said, well, I don't have anything. He said, I'll give you a goat. He said, well, yeah, but you're going now. You don't have a goat with you. When I come back, well, give me some assurance. Give me a deposit. So he gives her the staff and his ring. He goes to shear the sheep. He comes back. Where's that prostitute I slept with? We don't have a prostitute here. Oh boy, what am I going to do? Anyway, the story goes that he finds out his daughter-in-law is pregnant. They're going to burn her. She says, whose are these? And says, oh, you got me. So now she's pregnant with Judah's son, and that's why verse 3 of Matthew 1 says, Judah was the father of Perez and Zerah by Tamar. She has twins. Perez or Phares becomes a great-great-great-grandfather of Jesus. God used a prostitute. Continue. Ram, the father of Aminadab, Aminadab, the father of Nahshon, Nahshon, the father of Salmon, Salmon, the father of Boaz by Rahab. Stop here. Who was Rahab? Joshua chapter 2. The spies go to Jericho to spy it out, and Joshua is waiting for them. They're spotted. They run to the wall. They go up to the house of a prostitute called Rahab, and Rahab hides them, and she lies. She's a prostitute and a liar. When the soldiers come, where are the people? We saw two spies coming to your house. Oh yeah, they were here, but they left. They went that way. A prostitute and a liar. But she believed that the God of Israel was a strong God. Now, she didn't understand the God of Israel. She just knew that he was a strong God. They had heard all the stuff that God had done for them in Egypt and in the wilderness, all the miracles. So she said, we know your God is strong. We're all afraid of you. Now make me a promise. You're not going to kill me or my father's house because I helped you. And as the story goes, they promise, and she hangs a scarlet rope down her window. The walls of Jericho are shaken. Everybody is dead. They destroy Jericho, but they don't destroy Rahab and her family, anyone in her household. Here's another prostitute in the line of Jesus. Wow. Rahab became the mother of Boaz. We know the story of Boaz and Ruth, don't we? Oh, who's Ruth? A Moabitess. A race that was so disgraceful because their beginning was incest. When God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah and Admah and Zeboim, there was one tiny village he did not destroy, Zoar. Because Lot cried to God and said, I can't run that far, please. Can you please just not destroy this city? By the way, it was in the middle. You have Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim, and Zoar is in the middle. God destroys the cities around it, but not that, for the sake of Lot. His two daughters are sitting there in a cave with their father, and they say, one says to the other, you know what? We're not going to have any children. We're hiding here. We're afraid of the people around us. What are we going to do? They get their father drunk, and both of them sleep with him. They both get pregnant. The older has a son. She calls him Moab, from my father. Yet the younger sleeps with her father and gets a son. She calls him Ben-Ammi. Moab, from my father, Ben-Ammi, of my people, or my cousin. These are the Moabites. And that's Ruth. And if you read Leviticus 21, God told Moses that a Moabite cannot enter into the assembly of the Lord, not even unto the 10th generation. And yet, here she is, a great, great, great grandma of Jesus. That's Ruth, a Moabitess. Then we continue, verse 6, because you see, Ruth was the mother of Obed. Obed was the father of Jesse. Jesse was the father of David. So Ruth now became the great-grandma of King David. And David, true to his ancestry, commits adultery. He commits adultery with Bathsheba. And the result of the adultery is King Solomon. Jesus, why don't you hide your ancestry? Why do you proclaim it to the whole world? If I take this ancestry to... See, I preach this sermon in a Muslim country to Christians. And as I stood there shaking hands with the people, one of them came to me and said, why would you preach this sermon? When the Muslims hear about the ancestry of Jesus, they're going to mock us. You know what? Jesus is not ashamed to call us his brothers. Jesus is not ashamed to welcome Tamar, Ruth, Bathsheba, anyone. Rahab, you're a prostitute. Great grandma, welcome to heaven. Because you believe. Jesus is not ashamed to expose everything about his ancestry. I mean, forget about the women. Look at Jeconiah. His name also is Jehoiachin or Coniah. He was a wicked king of Judah. Because he was so wicked, God allowed him to go to captivity, to exile in Babylon. By God's grace, the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, exalted him and set him at his table to eat at his table. Now, I don't know whether Jeconiah, Jehoiachin, Coniah, I don't know whether he was as faithful as Daniel. When Daniel was given food from the king's table, he said, I'm not going to eat that. Just give me simple stuff. Jeconiah was welcomed to the king's table, and we don't know whether he ate of the king's unclean foods or foods offered to idols, or we don't know. We know that he was a wicked king. We know he was so wicked that he was the first one to be taken into exile by the Babylonians. Then his uncle was taken, and then his cousin was taken, and that was the end of the kingdom of Judah. Why would Jesus include these names here? Because Jesus wants you to know he doesn't really take into account your ancestry. He doesn't take into account how evil your father was, your grandfather, your great-grandfather. He doesn't take into account anything about your past if you would just surrender to him. Jesus gave us these ugly names in his ancestry to tell us, I am the Lord who redeemed you. You know what redeemed you means? I made you part of my family. That's what Boaz did to Ruth. He became her kinsman redeemer. Redeemer in the Old Testament meant you become part of my family, next of kin. And Jesus said, no matter what your background is, you and I are next of kin. You and I belong to the same family. And that's why John sings it out loud, and he says, behold, look and see. Can you believe it? Behold what manner of love the Father has bestowed upon us, that we should be called the sons of God, the children of God. Please remember that in the Bible, when it talks about sons and men, it talks about both man and woman. God called them one in Genesis. So if you're offended that the Bible uses the word son or man, please don't be. Because in the Bible, it says that he made them. Okay, I will read it. I will read it. God said, then the Lord said, it is not good for man alone. I will make him a helper suitable for him. So out of the garden, God formed every beast and so on. And the man gave names to the beasts. Then verse 21, so the Lord caused deep sleep to fall upon man, and he slept. Then he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh at the place. The Lord fashioned into a woman the rib which he had taken from man and brought her to the man. The man said, "This is bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken from the man. For this reason a man shall leave his father and his mother, be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." Okay, so God took from Adam a rib and made a woman, right? Now look at what he said before that in chapter 1. See, chapter 2 takes chapter 1 and puts some of the same events in different words. I can't believe that some people actually believe that there were two creations, chapter 1 and chapter 2. No. Look at this, verse 27 of chapter 1. God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. Man, male and female. Man means, Adam means from the red dirt. Man means both man and woman. Don't be offended when we quote verses from the Bible that talks about man. So when we say, "Behold what manner of love the Father has given us, that we should be called the sons of God," he means sons and daughters of God. He means everybody. He means mankind. Would you please trust that the God who allowed his ancestry to be exposed to everybody, who used a Tamar, a Rahab, a Ruth, a Bathsheba. Let's not forget Mary. What reputation did Mary have in her own town? The Jews told Jesus when he went back to Nazareth, "We know our fathers. We know who our father is." Implying, do you know who your father is? Jesus chose an unmarried woman who had not known a man to be his mother, adding to the shame of the ancestry. Why did he do it? Because he loves you, because he loves me. I thank him for that. I'm proud to belong to Jesus. Whatever the past is, God does not take that into account. He actually turns it into good. He brings beautiful lessons from the ugliness. And that's what he wants to do for you and for me.